All right. Welcome, guys. Good afternoon. Welcome to another class. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. Is my
Yes, we
voice
can.
low?
We can.
Is my voice low or kind of faint?
I think it's fair enough. I think it's fair enough.
It's fair enough, right? Okay. All right. So I'll talk about the file system, right? Used in the FS module, right? Used in NodeJs and how you can use the FS module to maybe create files, delete files, read from a file. Then we'll talk more about Express.js, right? So I know that we did a little about Express.js that's the Tuesday class. We did a little about Express.js. Okay, so I didn't really go into details of how to use Express.js. Okay, so we are going to actually do that in this class. We'll go into details. I'll explain some key concepts about Express.js. Now, going forward, right? Everybody here should either have MongoDB on their system. Either you install Mongo database and Mongo Compass on your system, or you install MongoDB Compass and then you install okay, after installing MongoDB Compass, you also link your create an account with MongoDB Atlas, and I'll show you Mongo Atlas, and then I'll show you like what's done, how you can do that and the rest. Okay, so very soon we'll start interacting with database, and we are going to see how we can save file, retrieve that file and the rest. Okay, so that is what we are going to do from now on. While we are also learning the basics of JavaScript, we're also going to learn how to write backend. Okay, and very soon we would also start learning about authentication, authorization, and the rest of those things. At least the basics of it. Okay. Okay. So that aside, um, so in this class, we'll talk about what the FS package or what the FS module is, how it can be used. We'll see how we can create files using the FS write file function. We'll see how we can read from a file using fs.readFile. And then we'll see how we can delete a file using fs.onLink. Then after that, I'll talk about Express Generator, how you can use Express Generator to automatically create a scaffold for your project. And we'll talk about what are routes in Express.js and what are middlewares, what middlewares are in Express.js. Okay. So that is what we are actually going to do in today's class. Now, before we dive into all this, right? Let me go to MongoDB. Let me go to mongodb.com, and I just want to show you guys something. Don't worry, I'll soon share my screen. Remember that you guys are not seeing my screen properly. Okay. So just give me some time. Let me share my screen. I'm going to mongodb.com. So if you want to also do it, you can also go to mongodb.com. And let me show you what is showing on my screen right about now. Um, Okay, so I just went to mongodb.com and it's still loading the website, right? So what is MongoDB to start with, right? So I know you guys have heard of SQL, Postgres, what else? Other databases, right? And of course, you know, the database is the place where you store your files or your data, right? It's called a database. So it stores data, like for example, the username, password, the link to your picture, your profile picture, and all those things are stored in a database. So MongoDB is one of those databases that you can use to store information. Okay. Now, on SQL, you have your database, and your database is made of tables, right? So you can have a database for, let's say your shop. Let's say your shop name is what name should I use now? Let's say the name of your shop is VMart or V Shopping Mall, right? Let's take, for example, your that's the name of your shop. You can have a database named V Shopping Mall, right? And then that V Shopping Mall can have different, I'm using SQL now to explain, right? But yeah, your database can have a table, right? So now you can have users table, you can have items table, like your shop items table, you can have orders table, for example, right? So the users table is the table that is concerned with every details of each user that is maybe signed up to your shop, right? Then you can have a tables, um, an items table, right? This is like, I'm using SQL to explain something to you guys now. So you can have a tables, an items table that has the list of items you have in your shop. So you have Gary, you have um, um, water leaf, and all those stuff, right? You have each. So now in MongoDB, you have a database, right? And then this database has collections. Now, the collections is similar to table in MySQL, right? So a database can have a collection for users, a collection of users. You can have a collection for your shopping items. You can have a collection, right? For if you want to compare it to front end, it's like saying your website's name is VMart, right? You have a page for listing out users. You have another page to show the items of your store, right? Then you have maybe another page to show the list of orders that different users have submitted, right? Similarly to how maybe you can design that on a front end on as a website, right? You can also, now the pages in your front end are like the collections on your database, right? So the collection can have a list of users, right? A list of items and all those, right? So when you come to mongodb.com, you can sign in if you already have an account, or you can try for free. I think I'll just sign in. I'll just sign in and let's see if it's going to bring up my account. Okay. So the reason why I'm going through MongoDB is that I want everybody to download it, right? Install it. If you can't install the MongoDB server, right, on your system, then just come to Mongo Atlas and then create an account. And then from that account, you'll be able to do whatever I want to do, create a table and sorry, create a collection and do whatever I want to do. So let's see. No, I don't want to use that. Let's see, I want to log in with Google. I don't know what is going to show up now. So let's see what is going to show up. Okay, let me use my own account, right? Let me try to use my own account, and then I'll show you how MongoDB treats your data. This is taking a bit of time. Okay, so we are finally here. So I'll choose database because I want to see my database, right? And this is just slow. I don't know why it's really slow. It's supposed to be faster than this. Okay, so we have Victor's org as a database, right? Then I can browse through my collection. Okay, this is my project name. So I can browse through the collections of what I have. So let's see what is going to show up. If I click browse through my collection. So, okay, so this is my organization's name, right? And then I have different, now what you see here is different databases, right? A whole lot of different databases, okay? Blog app is a database. This is another database, this is another database. These are all databases, right? But then if I click on like this blog app, for example, I see that I have lists of blogs, right? Sorry, collection of blogs and collection of users, okay? So this is my own personal like database, right? From my own account. And we see that on the blogs, you have a blog head and a blog body, blog head, blog body, right? Facebook changes to Meta. That's a form of. So now each database has a collection. So this is a collection of blogs, this is a collection of users. And like, for example, the collection of blogs have what they call record. So this is a record, right? This is a record for a particular user for that particular collection, right? This is another record for a particular user. This is another record, and this is another record, right? So just take it as your database is like a notebook. Think about it that way. Your database is like a notebook. Then each page is a collection. So you can have a page that you only write list of users. You can have another page where you can have write maybe list of blogs. Then that's each of those pages now, right? For example, the page that you're writing list of blogs now, you have maybe a format you follow. You can have user ID, the blog head, the blog body, and the date that it was posted, right? Something like that. Do you guys understand what I'm saying, what I'm trying to explain? Hello?
Yes, we are with
Hello?
you. Yes, we are with you.
Is there anybody that's confused about what I'm trying to do, what I'm explaining? Is there anybody that's confused? So everybody's following, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Right, no problem. So you see that there are others. If I click on VNote app, we see that VNote app actually is live, right? So we see that we have two collections. See, we have two collections. We have a collection of all the notes and we have collections of users. You see, we have 9 users and we have 5 documents. So if I click on the notes, for example, we'll see the records for inside that are inside that note. So I can view some people's notes. I can view, I think I have a lot of notes that I actually saved there. New notes edited. So this is the note title, the note. So if I go to, this is something I wrote on my own and deployed to. This one just has test, nobody, note 1, new notes. I don't know who wrote all this. Notes 2, new notes 2. I don't know who wrote all this then. But then this is a database for a front end. If I go to vnotes app, vnotesapp.netlify.app, right, and log into my account, I should see some of my notes, and those notes will come from this database, right? I can show you a list of users, but yeah, there might be sensitive information there, like some users email that I might not want to show. So I won't go through the list of users to show you any of that, but I can just show you, right? There are 5 notes, okay? So that's basically how like a database works, okay? So in contrast to SQL, SQL would say that this is a database, right? And then this is a table, right? And then those tables have entities, right? So this is the notes. We have a table for notes and we have a table for users, and those notes itself has entities. So this whole thing is an entity, this one is an entity, or something like that, right? Or a record. I think that's what is being called. So let's see. Let's come back to our topic. So before that, just come to mongodb.com. Make sure you have an account, and then register, login, and then from there we'll know what to do on the next class. Now, after downloading MongoDB, make sure you also download. If you can't install Mongo, because personally I tried installing Mongo database on a Windows system and I went through some couple of issues trying to get the database working on that person's system. So what I resorted to doing was I registered on Mongo Atlas, and then I used the online version of MongoDB to actually run the database for that particular person. Okay, so if I want to connect to this database using, okay, let's take for example this vnotes app, right? Or let's say this whole organization, I want to connect to it using maybe Mongo Compass, right? If I have Mongo Compass offline installed on this system, then I think it's database access. I'll go to, then I'll see the instruction. No, it's not there. I'll come to database, and then I'll see the connect. Yeah, I'll see the connect button. If I click on connect, it's going to tell me or show me how I can connect, different ways to connect my database, right? To this database, right? Or to this account for this database. So it's going to ask, what are you trying to, how do you want to connect to maybe one of those databases online? So if I click, for example, I want to connect to my database using Compass. I'll choose Compass. Then to show me the procedures I'm supposed to follow. So first thing, I need to download MongoDB Compass, which I can do here, right? So I'll choose my kind of OS, right? If it's Ubuntu or Debian, I'll choose Ubuntu. If it's Red Hat, if it's Windows 7 or 7 Plus, right? Or Windows 7 Plus. If it's Mac OS, see Mac OS here, right? M1 chip, the one that's not M1 chip, there are different options. After downloading Compass, right? The next thing I'll do is I'll copy this URL. My username is Ukok Junior, but I'll replace this password with the password that I used when I was trying to create an organization. Then I'll slash this after this slash, what comes after this slash is the database name, right? So the database name can be, let's say, let's come back here. If we click on browse collections, we will see different databases name. So I can use like Notes app to connect to my Notes app. Notes app, I could, if I want to connect to blog app, right? It would be that link slash blog app, and it is going to connect. We are going to do more of this later on, but just sign up on this and have an account so that we'll be able to do one or two things with it. Okay. So with that said, let's come back to our class, our main class. So we want to work with the file system today, see how file system works and how, what we can do with it. Okay. So we are here, file system, file system, file system. So what is the file system, right? What is the FS module? Now, the FS module enables us, right, communicate with the file system of our system, of our maybe our PC, right? So with that FS module, you can create a file on your system. You can delete a file on your system. You can read a file, right? That's using Node.js. You can read a file from your system and use that file to do whatever I want to do. Okay. Now, how do you use the FS module? How do we use it? So this is how you use it, right? I hope you guys can see my VS Code. You guys can see my VS Code. Hello.
Yeah, we can see it.
We can.
Okay. Okay, I think this is big enough. So first, if you want to use the file system, you say const. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but people like calling it FS equals to require. Then in quotes, you now say FS. Right? So with this line of code, you have successfully imported the file system to this particular project. And remember, the file system is an internal package, right? It comes with Node.js. So there's no need for you to come and do npm install fs. There's no need, because when once you install Node.js, Node.js comes with the file system module, the fs module, right? Then what can you do with this fs module? You can use it to create a file. You can use it to read a file, read from a file, and you can use it to delete from a file. Okay? You can use it to do those three things. Okay, so let's start with creating a file. So how do you create a file with the FS module? It's quite simple. So if you want to do that, you would say, fs dot write file, right? And then this write file is going to accept the file name and then the data that you want to write into that file. Okay? So you say, what do I want to call that file name, for example? When I want to call it, let me just say sample.txt, right? So it's going to use that sample name to write into that file, okay? Then how do I pass in what I want to actually write to that file? So if I want to pass in what I want to write to that file, this is what I'm going to write. The next the next argument is going to be what I want to write into that file. So I'll put comma, then data I want to write in. So that data could be either a string or an array buffer view, right? But it's going to be a string that I want to write inside there. So I'll just put my double colon, and then I'll say maybe welcome to the FS module class, right? And then after doing that, I think I can pass a call. Yeah, I can pass a call back here, right? So this is doing that with a callback, right? So I could write now this callback here that I'm about passing is going to manage if that file was created or if that file wasn't created. So I could just say function, and that callback, of course, a callback is always anonymous, right? So function, I don't need to write a function name, right? So I'll just do that. Now, what does this function accept? Does it accept anything? It accepts error, I guess. It accepts error. Then you can do something like this. You'd say if ERR, then we should console.log an error occurred. But then if everything goes well, we should console.log file created. Okay. So what I'm doing now is first calling the file system. Then I'll say fs dot, what do I want to do? Do I want to read from a file? Do I want to write to a file, right? So when we use the write file, right, it accepts the path to that file. So if the file already exists or if the file didn't exist before, right, you just use sample, whatever I want. You can create a CSV file, you can create whatever I want to create, PDF file, whatever I want to create here, okay? So, but I'm creating a text file here, and then inside that text file, I want to have welcome to the FS module class in there, right? Then if an error, of course, while trying to create that file, right? This here is going to trap that error, right? But if there is no error, then this ERR, the value of this ERR will be null. So this is like saying, me writing if ERR is the same thing as writing if ERR is equals to true. Is the same thing. So instead of writing if ERR is equals to true, I'll just write if ERR is the same thing. Okay. So if that error is true, then I want to see an error occurred, and then after telling the user that an error occurred, I want to return. So return is going to like stop the code from continuing, right? Let me come here and run the code. So I'll say node index. And it shows file created, right? So let's see, where is that file created? If we come and open our Explorer, right? If we come and open our Explorer here, we will see sample.txt. You see, sample.txt is what has been created. And then we're also expecting that welcome to the FS module class will be the result, the content of this sample.txt. So let's see. If I click on that sample.txt, you see, we've been able to use NodeJs, right, to create a file and write some values into that file. Okay. Do you guys follow? Is there anybody that is confused? Anybody confused? Hello? Hello? Anybody confused? Everybody's following.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. All right, so we've been able to create a file using the FS module, right? So then how do we read from from a file, Abi? So after creating a file, maybe later on you want to come and read data from that file. Okay, so how do you do that? So let me comment that. So if you want to read from a file, we can use fs dot read. Okay. So someone is asking, is it safe to say that the FS module does not return a success message, but only returns something when there is an error? Yes, it's safe to say so, right? It won't return a success message to you, right? What it will try to do is it is going to try to create that file. If it can't create that file, then it is going to pass the reason why it didn't create that file to the callback function. So the first argument of the callback function is always going to be an error, right? So it's going to be the value of the error. So if this error is null, right? If this error here is null, then ERR, right, is going to return false. This ERR is going to return false because it's null, right? But if this ERR here resolves to, maybe it has a particular value, right? Remember that this ERR here is going to come back as an object, right? Now, let me digress a little bit. If you do console.log and we say, okay, let's say, let me say const ERR equals to, let me say const ERR equals to, let me say error name can't read file. And then I'd say body, right? Something like this. Okay, can't write file. Let me use can't write file. Then in the body we say the file or the FS module could not write your file. Okay. Now let's compare. Is ERR, if we write this, just writing if ERR, this is going to, okay, how do I put it? I would say if ERR, right? Then we should console.log ERR. Or let's say just console.log true. But then else, we should console.log false. Let's just use that. I think that's like one of the simplest way I could explain this. So what I'm saying here is, if the ERR object is not empty, this place is like saying, if the ERR object is not empty, right? Which means there's an error. So then log out true. But if this ERR object is empty, then respond with false. So now, what if I run this line of code? What do you think will happen? Let me even do this. Let me say it true, then let me console.log the ERR. If we run this line of code, what do you think will happen? Hello? Hello? Are you
We are
guys here?
listening. Yes.
We are with you. We are with you.
So if I run this line of, if I run this code now, what is going to happen? What do you think will happen?
Can I see the code on line 1?
No, everything else is commented from here. It's just from line 11 down. That's,
Okay.
yeah. So from line 11 down, what do you
It should
think?
be true, then the object.
Yes. So if I run this node index, you see, it's returning true and it's returning the object, right? But then if the ERR is empty, let me remove everything that is inside there. The error here, right, is empty. This is what is going to happen. Oh, it's still showing true. Okay, so wait. Oh, it's still showing true. It's still showing true. It's still showing true. I'm trying to simulate when okay. So now in this case, the ERR is going to be null. It's not going to be an empty object. It's going to be null. Right? So if that happens and then we run this, is going to return a false, right? That's the same thing that is happening inside here. If the sample text file was created and the welcome to the FS module, right, was imputed or was written into that particular file, right? The value of ERR will be null. So that value of ERR will prevent that value of null for this ERR will prevent this whole if statement from running. So then what is going to finally run is the console.log file created, right? But if maybe trying to create this file resulted in an error, or trying to write this data into that file resulted in an error, the FS module, the callback function, right? This ERR for the callback function will be equal to the object, right? That's the error object, right? That error object will contain the details of why this operation was not carried out successfully. So if you want to handle that error, you can then say if ERR, which is that error there, if this ERR is just like saying if ERR is not equals to null, right? It's just, oh, sorry, if ERR here is like saying if ERR is not equals to null. So if it's not equals to null, which means it's equals to an object, right? It's equals to an actual object. Then you can then do this. You can it will then console.log an error occurred. But then what if the ERR is null? So if ERR is null, it will just console.log created. Okay. So that is how that works. Okay. Do you guys understand? Are you guys following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's how that works out, right? So let's continue. If we want to read from a file, we say fs.read file, and then we'll pass in, what do we pass in? We'll pass in the name of the file, right? Or the path to that file. Then these options are things that are not really necessary that you have to pass. Then the callback function you're going to pass in to the read file is going to have an error and a data. So the error here is going to be if something goes wrong, the error will be the one that will be outputted. But then if nothing goes wrong, error will be null, and then we can log out the data that we receive. Okay. So if we want to do that, we'll say fs.read fs.read file, and then the file name is going to be sample.txt, then comma. Then now I want to write in the callback. So I'll say function, and since it's a callback, right, it's going to be an anonymous function. I could use an arrow function too. So they told us that our callback accepts an error and a data. So the error can be a NodeJs error or exception, right? Or it could be null. So we are expecting that the error should be either null or it could be an exception, right? But then the data that is going to be returned to us is going to be a buffer. And then we'll see how buffer looks like and how we can convert it back to a text that we can read, right? So I'll pass in ERR, then comma, then the data that will be returned to me as a buffer, I could just call it data at once. Then here, I'll say if there is an error, in fact, I can copy this and paste here. So I'll just say, and notice it must not be ERR. You can name it E, you can name it ERROR, error, whatever I want to name it. Just know that the first value there is going to be the value for the error. So I would say if E, right, then we should console.log, an error for port, then I'll say comma ERR for that error, right? Then I can return so that it doesn't continue to run down, right? But then if there's no error, then I would want to console.log that buffer that I got, the data, right? So let's see, if I run this code, what is going to happen? Node index. So we have this long should I say difficult to read buffer. This is the buffer that represents the welcome to the FS module class here, but it's not in a format that we can easily understand. So how do we convert this to something that we can read, right? So this data comes in as a buffer. So to convert it to a string, you say dot to string. So this to string in this case converts that data, right, from being a buffer to being a string. So we are saying buffer dot to string. So it decodes the buffer to a string according to the specified character encoding. Don't worry about the character encoding though. So if we run that code again, node index, you see now we have the string, welcome to the FS module class. Okay. So I hope you guys are following. Do you have any question to ask? So assuming that this sample.txt doesn't exist, let me say sample with triple E, right? And I try to run it. It's going to give an error, right? Reference error. Okay. What is it saying here? What is it saying? It's saying ERR is not defined in where? At where? Line 13. Okay, I used E here and I'm using ERR here. Sorry about that. It's supposed to be E. So I could come back here and run the code again, and you'll see an error occurred, right? And then the error here, which is this E, is the reason why that error occurred. So the error occurred because there is no file or directory as that sample with triple E.txt, right? It tried to open it, but it tried to open that file, but since the file doesn't exist, it throws an error. Okay, so we've handled that error, and because of that, it's not printing, it's not running this line of code, right? But if we have that existing and we come back here and run the code, you see it's reading from that file. Okay, now how do we delete a file from here. How do we delete a file? Okay. How do we delete a file? Now, if you want to delete a file, let me comment on that. If you want to delete a file, you use the onlink statement to delete a file. You use onlink. So if we write, if I want to delete this sample.txt from here, I would say fs.onlink, right? fs.onlink, and then fs.onlink here is going to accept the file path and a callback, right? So the file path is going to be the path to that file. They even give an example here, right? File the path to that file, then you pass in the error in your object, right? In your callback function. So if there's any error, you can throw the error, or you can decide to do whatever I want to do with the error. But if there's no error, then you can tell them that the file was deleted successfully. Okay. I know people are, some people might already see their next task from what I'm explaining here. Okay, but don't be afraid. Sample.txt. I want to delete sample.txt now, right? So I'll write the sample.txt, comma, and then the callback that should be, or what should be called when once I delete sample.txt and it's deleted successfully, or is not deleted successfully. So I'll pass in the callback function. Then inside this callback function, I'll pass in the ERR. I like calling it ERR. Then here I could say, if there is an error, right? If there is an error, then we should do this. We should console.log that error, right? And then return, so that it doesn't continue running the next line of code. But then if there is no error, we should do this. We should console, sorry. We should console.log file deleted successfully. File deleted successfully, right? All right, so let's see if this is going to work perfectly well for us. So if I run node index and I press enter, did you notice the file disappeared here, right? You guys notice? Hello?
Yes, we are here. But why did you not use else statements after the if?
Yes, we noticed.
Oh, you say, why didn't I use what statement?
Else.
As.
Else statement, E-L-S-E. That is if
else.
after the curly brackets, after the return, else. I mean, put else statement. Is it not doable?
Okay, yes. You can use if else. You can use if else, but you can say else, right? You can say yes, you can definitely do this. You can say else, then that should occur. This is still like perfect, right?
Okay.
It's perfect, but then I don't know, for some reasons I like using the other way around, right? Using the return and just writing if here, because I don't want all the other details of my file to be inside the other commands to be inside the else statement. So now, first, to me, in my own opinion, I feel that writing it the other way around makes it more readable, right? Than having if and else. So instead of that, just have just if alone. Just have if alone, right? Then another thing again, what else? Right? Now using return like that is kind of, I think they call that the guard style of using the if statement, right? So instead of you having if else, if else, if else, maybe if you want to have multiple if else, right? Multiple if statements, right? Let me try to simulate something, right? But it's just an example. So let me do this. I would say, let me try to do something like a, okay, let me do this. Function register. Let me try something out. Let me show you something. Register, right? And then this register is going to accept a username and a password. Abi? For example, let's just use that for illustration purpose. Then inside here, I now write fs.write file, right? Write file, I would say users.t or user. Let me say user.txt, and I'll then say I'd say username, password. Username, password. Then in here, I'll now say I'll pass a function here. Then imagine if I was using let me remove the sidebar. If I was using if else, I would write something like this. If there is an error, okay, let me pass in error here. If there's an error, then show me the error, right? Then, sorry, console.log error or ERR, right? I hope you guys are still following up to this extent. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, then now, I'll write else. Then now, what if I want to check if the person's password is like 6 characters long? If it is less than 6 characters long, I should not accept it, or I should try an error, right? Something like that. I don't know. Okay, before even coming here, I think I'll have to do that outside. So I'll say if password.length is less than 6, right? So I should console.log that your password is too short. Your password is too short. Then I might want to do something like this. Else, if that password is more than 6 characters, I will now have another if statement to check if the username is up to 10 characters. So I'll now say if username dot length is less than 10, right? Then if it's less than 10, I'll now console.log your username is too short, right? Then I'll now have another else here. Then let's say now this fs now will be inside that else statement. But looking at this code, isn't it already confusing to you? Hello?
Please.
It is.
Mm,
You have if, you have else, and inside the else you have another if, and you have else. It's already too confusing now. So, but what if we write this in this way, right? What if we write this like this? What if we write this code like this? We'll say if your password length is less than 6 characters, we tell you that your password length is too short, then we write a return here. Then under here, we can come here and write if your username dot length is less than 10, then we should console.log that your username is too short, for example, and then we have a return here. Then if these two, right, if these two are false, which means the length of your username is of your password is higher than 6 and the length of your username is higher than 10, right? Then it can then come and call the right. And then here now, instead of having another if else statement in here again, we can just simply write this return here. So it's not going to continue, and then you can then say console.log user created successfully. So between the two codes, the first one I wrote and this one that I wrote, which one is more readable? Share this second one. Hello?
Yes. Yeah,
Share
yeah.
the second one is more readable than the first one.
Devil.
So, Mr. Victor,
Yeah?
this return statement, does it mean that if there is an error, then it should close this particular function? But
Exactly. So if the length of your password, for example, is less than 6 characters, right? It will show your password is too short. Then this return statement is going to prevent the function from going further than this line of code. So it's going to stop here. If your username is less than 10 characters, it will check the password, right? If the password is higher than 6 characters, but the length of your username is less than 10 characters, it will then print out that your username is too short. Then this return here will stop the code from going further. You understand?
Yes.
So this way of using like if statements, right? Instead of using if else, maybe you're trying to compare more like a lot of things at the same time. Instead of using if else, you can just use if and then add the return. So this is like this if here, right? These if statements are serving as kind of guards. So before you reach here, you pass through the first guard, which is this one. Then after passing through the first guard, kind of you reach the second guard, right? And upon reaching the second guard, right? If you're okay, if what the guard, that particular guard is checking, right? Everything goes well and you pass that guard, then you can then come over to this point. Okay. Does it make sense to you guys? So I could say
yes.
register with username and password. Username is Victor, password is Victor. So let me run it, and I know it won't run actually. So it's username is too short, and if we check here, nothing is being created, right? But it says username is too short. Well, imagine I didn't put this return statement. Let me remove that return statement. Now, let me still run this code. Username is too short, but let's come here and okay. Username is too short, but did it create user.txt? Username is too short. Username, user.txt, user and password, and then it's supposed to create. Okay, sorry, this didn't save. Sorry. So let me run it again. Did you see what happened? It's saying username is too short, but it has created the user successfully. And if we check here, you see user.txt with the short username and password. But that's not what we want, right? So omitting that return statement, it is going to run that line of code, but it's going to continue. But always remember to add the return statement. Okay. Then let's delete this file here. So that was just for illustration purpose, right? Okay. So that's how that's the basics of using the file system, right? Do you guys have any question? Hello? Hello? Hello, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Can continue.
Right.
Good night.
All right. Okay, so I can continue.
Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. No problem. So, another thing, right? Apart from just files, right? You can use the
Sorry to draw you back. Can you recover the deleted file? Hmm?
are you talking about recovering the file using the FS module?
Is it?
Are you trying to recover the file
I
using
said, is it
FS
possible to
module?
recover
The
the
FS
deleted
module?
file?
Nope. If you're using the FS module, nope. But if you're trying to use another method, it might work out for you. There are some certain softwares that can help you recover files, but definitely not the FS module.
Okay.
Oh, all right. So apart from creating files, you can use the FS module to create folders also, okay? So to create a folder on the FS module, so let me comment on that, okay? To create a folder using the FS module, you use fs.mk make directory mkdir. So mkdir is used to create a directory, that's a folder, okay? It's used to create a folder. So what you just need to pass in is the folder name, right? Or the folder path. See it here, mkdir with the folder path, right? And then you can pass in a callback. So if I want to create a folder named Victor, so I could just, or let's say I want to create a folder named Lois, for example, I'll say mkdir Lois. Then after that, I'll say function. This function accepts ERR, right? And then in here you already know the drill. Just say if there's an error, right? If there's an error, log as the error. But if there's no error, console.log file created success. Okay, so file created successfully, that's right. If I run that code now, node index, do you see the file name Lois has been created successfully, and it tells you the file has been created successfully, right? Lois file created successfully, right? So how do we delete this file, right? How do we delete this file? Now, you can create a file and you can create a folder and create a file inside that folder, right? So let me create a file inside this Lois folder, okay? So I'll do this fs dot write file, and then I'll say so if I want to create it inside that there, I'll say dot slash Lois slash sample dot txt. Then I would say this file is for Lois. Then here I would say function error. Then in here, what would we say? We say if there's an error, right? Console.log that error, right? But then if there's no error, console.log created success. Okay, so then let me delete this file. Okay, let me leave it. So let me run that line of code and let's see. Do you notice? Okay, so this one, so the first one, right? The first one to make the directory tells us that the directory already exists. The directory name Lois already exists, so it's not going to create the directory again, right? So it threw an error, right? And then after that, we wrote something into that particular directory. Okay. Do you guys notice that? Hello?
Hello, hello, hello.
Are you
We
guys
are with you.
Yes,
are you
Yes, we
following?
are with you.
yes, we
Yes,
are
yes.
hearing you.
Okay. So I've been able to create, if this folder didn't exist, let me delete this folder though. Let me and try running everything, right? Come back here, node index, enter. See, the file, I wanted to say folder created successfully. Sorry, this is not the file, this is a folder. So the folder was created successfully, and then this other file inside that folder, right, was created successfully with its content. Nice. So then, so how do we delete, right? How do we delete a folder, for example, right? Or how do we delete a file inside a folder first, right? You can use the onlink. So I could say onlink fs.onlink lois./sample.txt, right? And it's going to delete it. So if I comment on all these, right, come back here, I'd say fs.onlink, then I'll say onlink ./sample.txt. Then inside here, let me use arrow functions now. Say error err, what's going on? Err, of course, if there is an error, in fact, you can say if there is an error on the same line, you can just say return console.log error. I think that's even a shorter way of doing the same thing. But there's no, so error. Okay. But then if there's no error, console.log deletes deleted successfully. Okay. So let's run that line of code, right? Let me open the Lois folder. We have sample.txt inside there. Run that. You see, it has deleted the file inside the Lois folder, right? Then in here, right? How do we delete the folder? Because we've done creating of folder. So how do we delete the folder, right? This is how you delete the folder. You say fs dot fs dot rmdir. Rmdir is used to remove a directory. It's used to delete a directory. So you pass the name of the directory, right? So the name of the directory is Lois, right? And then you pass in a callback. So the callback, let me use arrow functions again. You pass in the error if there's any error, right? So you say if err return console.log err, then console.log, what do they call it? Say folder deleted successfully. Okay, so if I run that line of code, we don't see Lois again as a folder because it's deleted. Okay, so I just hope you guys follow up to that extent, right?
Pronounce that equal to and greater than. Is it the pronunciation? What did you call it?
Arrow function. This is an
Arrow
arrow
function.
So what's the difference between the unlink and the remove directory?
Unlink is used to delete a file, while remove directory is used to delete a
Is
folder.
okay, folder. Okay.
Yeah. So this RMDIR remove directory. So the directory is a folder, right? But then unlink is to delete a file. So you can pass in options here. I think one of the options is recursive. Is it? Yeah, recursive should be true, I guess. So now let's see. There's something interesting with trying to delete a folder that has a file. Okay, so let me come back here and create the folder and the file. So this is the one to create the file, then this is the line of code to create the folder. So I've uncomment them and then I'll run that. So it creates the file and then it creates the folder. Sorry, it creates the folder and it creates the file inside the folder, right? So let's see if I try to delete the file, the folder itself, right? Let's see what is going to happen. So let's say I come down here and I want to remove Lois as a folder. I want to remove Lois as a folder with the file. Let's see if that's going to work out. Right? You see, it doesn't work out. What does it tell us? It tells us that the directory is not empty.
It's empty.
Yes, so the directory is not empty, so it won't delete that particular folder because that folder has a file inside, and we've not told. So what NodeJs is trying to say now is, if I delete this folder, where would the file be? Because you've not told me anything to do with the file, right? So do you want to delete? So now the question you need to ask yourself is, do you just want to delete only the folder? I want to delete the folder and the files inside the folder. But then if you want to delete the folder and the files inside the folder, you have to pass an option here. Okay. This option is used to tell me more information about what you want the remove directory function to do. So if you say recursive, right? Why I don't know why it's canceling the recursive property. So if you say recursive and you say true, hopefully that should delete the folder and the file, right? Because so deleting recursive is like saying delete anything that's inside that folder, that Lois folder, right? If there's any folder inside that Lois folder that has a file, delete that file, delete the folder, and then delete anything else that's inside the Lois folder before deleting the Lois folder itself. So if I run that node index, you see, it has actually, this recursive of true has told the Node.js that I want to delete Lois folder, and I also want to delete the file or folders that are inside the Lois folder. Okay. So this is what they are telling us, that the reason why that recursive, right, add a dash is because it is deprecated. So deprecated means it is old or it is outdated, right? So then they tell us the next time that we should use recursive of true instead. But that's what I just used, right? RECURSIVE, RECURSIVE. So why is it telling me that it's depreciated?
It's the fs.rm directory.
Okay. Thank you. So they said if I want to use recursive, right, I should not use rmdir, I should use rm alone. Okay, so let me try that again. So it's fun to do. So let me try this. Come here, remove the comments on these lines to create the folder and the file. So let me change this to folder created, right? So the folder is created and the file inside the folder is created. Excellent. Then let me come down here and let me remove the fs.rm. Let me uncomment it, right? Then let me come and run this code. Yeah, so it has deleted the file and the folder, right? And then it tells us folder deleted successfully, and of course it deletes it with the files that are inside. Okay, so I hope you guys understand what I've done so far. Any question?
Please let me just rephrase something.
Okay.
So remove directory plus recursive is used to delete a folder that has a file inside it.
Yes, but it is deprecated. So it's like the old form of deleting folders and files inside. So instead of that, we shouldn't use rmdir, we should use rm instead.
Recursive to delete a folder that has a file inside it.
Yes.
But Mr. Victor, to
Yeah?
delete in Linux, to delete a file, because like if a folder that has files in it, someone can still use rm-r, right?
Okay.
Yes. So you'd say,
So if there's no file inside it, it is safe to use remove directory.
you say?
If there is no file inside that folder, you can just use the remove directory.
Yes, you can use. So if it's empty, right, you just use rmdir, because rmdir is used to delete the directory, right? But this rm is like saying, rm is like kind of used issuing a command that you'd want to delete. I think rm can also be used to delete a file. I think that's possible. But then let me not say it's used to delete the file, but let's say the rm is used to delete folder that has files inside it. But if the folder is empty, right, then you can use rmdir.
Okay.
So is there any other question? So most times you just use rm to do what you want to do, because you're not sure if there is a file inside the folder or not. So most times you have to just use that, okay? All right, so is there any other question?
I want to ask, what if you want to write inside an existing file? Maybe you want to add more information inside an existing file that is inside a folder. Are you going to access the folder first, then before accessing the file? You get?
Yes, you have to put the full path to that file. So if the file is inside Lois, for example, if the file name is sample and is inside Lois and you want to write into it, you have to write Lois / the file name dot the file extension.
Okay, you now drop what you want to write. I mean, you now drop what you want to write inside that file.
Yes, then it is going to write. So now there's also append file, right? So this now there's a difference between when you're writing a file and when you use fs.write, right? It's going to clean out what was there on the file before, and put in the new value. But then what if you wanted to, what if the file already contained like had content, but you want to add to that content? So how do you do that? Okay, so if you want to do that, let me come up here and let me create a file, right? Okay, let me use this user.txt. So let me create that file, right? Come here, run this. Okay, sorry, it didn't save. It didn't save. All right, so oh, yeah, let me just write it down. So I'll say fs dot write file, right? Write file. I'll say user.txt. Then I'll say what do I want to write into that user? I'll just say Victor function err if err return return console.log err, but then else if that doesn't, if there's no error, I should just console.log file created successfully, right? Now let me run that. Okay, that didn't save, sorry. So that's one thing I've noticed with running a code immediately. I just need to wait for a little while for it to do what it's supposed to do. So file created successfully. We have Victor and we have Victor. So let's see. Let me try to run the same command, right? Let me use da cat, comma, da cat. Let's come back here. Okay, that didn't save. So let me come back and run it again. You see? Now, this is not what we want, right? We now it wiped out Victor and it's put in da cat, right? But this is not the kind of behavior we want it to have. So let's say we created let me cut this out. We created Victor there, and then want to add da cat. So how would we do it, right? Let me run this already. Right, so we have Victor there. If we want to append da cat there, I'll say fs dot append file. Then inside there, I would say the file name is user.txt. What do I want to append? Da cat function. And of course, this function is going to accept an error and would say if there is an error, right, then want to return console.log the error. But then if there is no error, console.log append successful, right? So let's run that file, that line of code and see. You see append successful, right? And then when we come back here, we see Victor and we see da cat, right? I think I should have used this and new line. Let me see if that is going to work out well. Okay, so I would have used that and new line to take it to the new line. Okay, so let me delete this file and create that again. Move to trash, come here. Let me create the first one, right? Sorry. So let me first create that file. Come here, NodeJs. What happened? Yeah, so that's created that file successfully with Victor. And then I should come here and comment it. And then I want to append to that file. So I'll use the append file, right? If I come here and run the code, see, append successful, right? If we come back here, we see Victor, and we see DA cat. I can decide to add more users, right? So who else is on the call? Eshet, I'll just say Eshet and Eshet.
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay, ask for.
Me too.
Okay. If you had those two codes active, the first one was not commented out, the write file, and then shortly after it, the append file, and you run it, would it work out, as we expect? It would write the first one and append the next.
So since the file already exists, I have a strong feeling that this is going to throw an error because the file already exists, right? So this one is going to throw an error, but then the append won't throw an error. So let's try running it. Oh, let me try running it again. Okay, it shows append successful, file created successfully. Let's see the results. Victor and Ishet. Okay. So what happens here is, since this file already exists, right? It's just going to write. What happens is it creates this, it destroys what was this file already and creates it again, and then appends the Victor, the data we want to put in there. Then after that, it runs the append file, which also adds a sheet. So if I run this again, you would see that everything still, everything still remains the same. So why is it showing T at the end? Okay, wait, let me delete this file and try it again. Delete, move to trash, then run this. File created successfully, append successfully. We have Victor and we have a sheet. Then let me try to run it again. So the append successful runs first before the file is created. Okay. But then why is that happening? It's still showing Victor Sheets. It's still the same thing. File created successfully, append successful. Victor and Ishet. Okay. So the reason for this is we are not using a promise, right? So maybe I wait and see. So we wait for one to happen before the other happens. So that's why append file can run first and before write file. Write file can run first before append file, because these are actually these are actually not okay. These are asynchronous. It asynchronously writes data to a file, right? Replacing the file that already exists. Replacing the file that already, if it already exists. Okay. So I think the best thing to do if you want to write file first before appending a file is you can copy or you can put this inside the body of the write file. So something like this, so that you won't have maybe very funny behaviors, right? You can put it like this. If you want to create a file first, then append to the file later on, like append to the file after creating the file, right? You can do something like this. But if you only want to append to the file, then you can just have the append alone running. So with this now, it's going to first write the file, right? Then after writing the file, it can then append this value to that file. Okay. But if you put them separately, one can execute before the other one. Okay. So if you run it now, no matter how many times you run it, it's always going to create the file first before appending. Create before append, create before append, create before append. It's not going to append first by mistake before trying to create that file. So every time we would have that the flow that we actually want. Okay. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you very much.
Okay. So just this is a better way of doing it, right? And if you want to do the two at the same time. But if you want to, let's say you're creating a desktop app, or I don't know, anything, let's just say a desktop app, right? And then you want it that user should be able to maybe create a file and then write something to it. Or when they are saving a file, you should create a file. Then after writing the user's data, you want to write another data to that same file. You can do something like this, right? And then append. Okay. Then you can also do the append file alone, sure. All right. So is there any other question? Any other question?
To know, is there any way to add a form to check whether the file, the what you want is already existing? If it is not if it is not existing, you add.
I didn't get that.
I say now that you added inside that file, so I'm just asking, is there I will check if that particular name, like existing, if it is existing, it will overwrite it and add it. Because I felt this of people's name.
Oh, okay.
It will now check if the name is not there. It will now add it.
Okay. Okay. To check if a name exists already in the file, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then okay. Then what you can do is you can read the file, right? You can read the file and then you can use JavaScript to check the file content. Then after checking the file content, if that's what you're trying to check okay, let me do it now, right? Let me do it. Let's do it this way. We have Victor and we have Eshet already here, right? And then I want to check if the file already contains Eshet, right? This is what I would do. I'll say fs.read file, right? And I'll read the users, user.txt. Then I'll say function err data, and then I could say if there's an error, return console.log the error. Then inside here now, I could say const string data, right? String data equals to data.toString, right? And then after that, I can say if string data dot includes Eshet. If the string data already includes Eshet, then we can do something like console.log. We can do something like console.log
name already exists.
Eshet already exists. But then if then after that, we'll then write return so that it won't continue further. But then if Eshet doesn't already exist, which means this is going to give a false, right? Then we can then write fs.append file, and then we'll then say user.txt. Then we can then say Eshet, then we can say
Please, before you execute it, I want to say something before you execute it.
You say, let me execute it.
Don't no, wait, before you execute it. I said, can you change that Eshet to another name? Because Eshet is already there, we know. So can you change it to another name? Yes.
So for us to make it simple for us, we are going to create a function. We can call this function check before adding. And then we can say, we can call this the username, or we can just say, yeah, we just say username, right? Then inside there, I can copy this full code in there, but let me just finish up with the code. I'll say error, then I'll just copy this line of code. If there's an error, just paste here, right? Then if there is no error, we can console.log successful or written or updates successful. Okay, so now what do? We'll copy that whole thing code, we paste it inside here. In place of this Eshet now, we can then replace it with username, and then we'll replace this Eshet here with username. Okay, so now we can say that the username plus, so it will say that username already exists if it already exists, right? But if it doesn't exist, right? And so let's call this with check before adding. So I'll say check before adding let me say Lloyd. So check before adding Lloyd. So if I run that line of code, you see it shows update successful. If we check here,
it's added, but without a new line.
Okay, see it here.
There, yes, it's there, but no space.
Let me remove it and let me put a new line. So in here I'll say plus, I'll say n, so that is going to create that new line. So if I come back here and I execute it again, you see Lois, and I want it to be 2. I don't want it to be 1. So let me come back here to my code and I'll say this, and then I'll say plus space and comma, right? Abi, comma and space. Then I'll say plus the username again. So that we pass Lois, it should just create Lois, right? So if I run that line of code and we come back here, you see create Lois and Lois, right? But let me try to add Victor, or let me try to add Eshet. So I'll come back here and I'll say Eshet, right? Okay, it's saying Lois already exists. Why? Why? Let me run this again. Okay, see, it says Eshet already exists. Okay, so, and because Eshet already exists, it doesn't add it again. Now, this is something I wanted, this is what I wanted you guys to do, right? Let me go to the top and I'll say const read line should be equals to fs, require read line. Then down here you can say const instead of passing username here, you can say const user name should be equals to readline okay. So I could say console.log or what name do you want to add? Okay, then readline so after when we append the file, right? Before this part, we'll call check before adding again. Okay, so let it save. Okay, then I can come back here and run the code. What is it saying? Read. So what am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to say sign RL should be equals to
Const.
okay. Const RL should be equals to readline dot dot create interface. So what's that stuff? Is it standard inputs? I can't remember. Standard inputs. STD. I can't remember what is used to create an interface. Can't remember what's. Let me see.
I think input and output.
So okay, it's going to be input.
Process dot standard in
dot
standard
is it
input.
std in, right?
std in.
And
Then
that's
okay.
put std.
Okay, then it will be process.std in.
Okay, input.
Okay.
std.
Okay. Then so at this point, we would use rl dot on sorry, I think it's line. Okay. Then function So this function will pass the data we need. Let me just call that data D. Then every other thing under here, everything under there can be inside here. Okay. So how do I get the username? So I'll say const user name should be equals to D, so that the username will be available. Then at the bottom here, I'll say rl.close. So what is it saying? On read file path option, maximum call stack size exceeded. So let me try to debug this. Okay. For this read line, I think every other thing is going to be inside the read line, not the read line being inside something. Then this read file, yeah, I know it's confusing. So I'll first try to read the file. What is your name? This is going to be outside. What name do you want to add? Then once you put in the name, it's going to take that name. Then it's going to read the file. Then after reading that file for users, right? All these other things are going to be inside that file. So you would have all this inside there. Let me see. Oh, what is that?
Is it not because the function parameter is calling again and again? I don't know.
Okay, so if I stop that from happening, from calling itself, what name do you want to add? Should already exists, but it breaks after calling that. So is it where I'm actually putting? Okay, so what name do I want to add? Should already exists. Wait. Should already exists, but I want it to continue calling. I don't want it to stop.
Okay.
So let's see. Node. Did it even save? Okay, I'll figure that out. I think I didn't use readline. There was another package I used, which I can't really remember now. I think is it prompt I used? I can't remember for now. So, but definitely I would know the
Why
reason
not
why
try prompt sync? It's less cumbersome than that.
prompt sync.
Yes.
Prompt sync. I'll just call this prompt.
Then you put sign int too.
I don't need to use this read line for the prompt.
But you put sign int at the back.
Yeah.
Sign int. True.
Okay.
You can just call it.
So everything inside this read file, I need to remove them. So I don't need this rl.close. Everything that's inside here, I just need to cut it. Then I'll paste it outside, and I could just simply say let username equals to prompt, right?
Yes.
And username is not accessible. So instead of having username equals to D, I'll just leave it that way. Let's see, the username is equals to a string. This, let me see. What do I want to add? A shirt. Yeah. It's not showing that a shirt already exists. So let's say joy. So it's not showing joy already exists or any of those things. So that means I need to look at the logic again. So what happens first? It asks me, what do I want to add? I say, I want to add this username, right? I want to add a username, and this is that username. So first, I read everything about that file. I check if it already exists. If what I'm trying to read already exists, right? Then if what I'm trying to do already exists, then I want to say that already exists, right? But then if it doesn't exist, I want to write into that. Okay, let me crash this code and start it again. Joy. Oh, what is going on? So I guess this is, let me see if that is going to work out that way.
You know, that console.log at the front at the beginning. Why
Yeah.
not just cut it and put it in the prompt, then delete the console.log?
But I don't think that is the problem. What do you want to add? Joy. What do you want to add, please? It's not, I don't think it's changing anything here. So I guess the username is not reachable by the fs.read. I'm not sure that username is actually reachable. So because, let me see, console.log username. If I try to log out username from there, maybe joy, oh, it doesn't even run that line of code there. Um, the asset already exists. It's saying update successful. It's saying asset already exists. Peter,
That's edited, except you remove the return.
you say what?
Except you remove the return.
The return. Okay, that's true, that's true, that's true, that's true. So at this point, if any of these things happen, I should remove the return, right? But if an error occurs, then it should crash, Abby. So if I execute that, oh, sorry, if I execute that command again, what's going to add? If I say peace, it has added peace already. If we come back, okay, it hasn't added peace yet. So if I say I want to add joy, which already exists, it then says joy already exists, okay? If I say a shirt, it says a shirt already exists. If I say peace, it says peace already exists, but that's funny. Okay, that's added peace, joy, and a shirt again, even if a shirt already exists. Okay, it has a funny behavior. I'm going to figure that out, why that is having a funny behavior. Let me add peace again. Peace already exists, but let me see. It has added peace twice already. It has added a shirt twice. Okay, I'm going to figure out why that is happening, and then I think I'll post the full code that works properly on Discord, on the channel, okay? So, but let's move to something else, shall we? Hello?
All right.
Okay, Lois, you have a question?
Apart from this one, I wanted to ask whether we can add arrays of strings at the same time. But let me just leave it for another day.
RS dot.
Arrays of strings at the character. Don't know what to call it.
Okay,
Has
okay.
some different names in array in that square bracket.
Okay, arrays, right? Yeah,
Yes.
you can, but then if you want to append an array to a file, right? Or to a file, you need to change that array to string. So
Okay.
you can use JSON.stringify to convert it to a string, and then you save it in the array, and you save it in the file. Okay, this JSON.stringify, this JSON.pass. JSON.pass is going to convert the string to an object. Then JSON.stringify is going to convert an object to string. Yeah, so you can use it, you can convert it to a string first, right? You can convert your object to a string or the array to a string, then save it in your file, the file that you want to use it on. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's see. I'll post the original, like what is working, the code that's working on the Discord channel. So but for now, let's move to another thing so that we still meet up with time. Oh, it's already after 4. Wow. All right. So let me create another file. I'll rename this file. I'll just call this fs practice, right? And then I'll create another file named index. So I'll say add index.js. Okay. So now I want to talk about Express, right? And I want to talk about two main should I say two main concepts, two very important concepts in terms of Express.js. Remember that Express.js is a framework that allows us to receive requests from a client, which a client can allows us to receive requests from those users, right? And send back a response to those users, right? So that's the main use of Express.js. So it's a back-end framework, okay? So it helps us receive requests, and then it helps us send back a response to the request that was received, okay? Now, I remember that I told you guys in our last class, let me clear this out, that for you to start using Express, you have to install Express, you have to initialize your package, then write npm install Express, right? Npm install Express, and then that's after you've run npm init to start to create a package. That's to create your package.json and every other thing about your project, like your package, right? After doing this, you now install Express. So npm install Express, right? To install Express framework into that particular project or that particular package, right? I've already installed Express. So if we come down here, you see that you already have Express here. You have Express. So if I want to use Express, of course, I'll just come here and write const express equals to require, then express, right? And then I told you guys that the second thing to do after importing Express is to initialize Express. That's to call Express. So I would say const app. I hope you guys can still see my screen. Oh. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we can.
Oh, okay. I thought I was actually logged out because everywhere was really quiet. So you can say const app is equals to express, like that. So it's like calling the express, right? And you're saving everything you call from the express in the app variable name. Then the next thing you need to do is you need to write a server. You need to start a server, right? For this express. Remember that Express is supposed to run as a service. So it's supposed to be on standby waiting for people to make requests, then response. So for you to do that, you need to create a server by writing app.listing, right? And this app.listing, you pass a port name. So you can say, I could give a port name. I could just say const port here should be equals to. Now, this is important. You should always write process.env.ports, no, ports or 3000. You get why? Very important. If you are pushing this Express project online, let's say you finish writing this, you finish writing your whole back end, and then you want to deploy it on maybe Heroku or render.com, right? The port that render.com or Heroku or any of those platforms might assign to your back end might not be port 3000. So here what I'm doing is I'm saying if there is an assigned port by the service I'm actually trying to deploy my code to, then I should use that port. But if this port is undefined, then I'm going to fall back to 3000. So this 3000 is like a fallback if there is no port that was assigned to me. Do you guys understand that? Do you guys understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So that in case after deploying your back end, the port that the service you're trying to deploy your backend to now gives you a port of like 10,000 or 8,000, your whole service will not crash because the port is not the same. Okay, so now I could just say I want to listen to that port, which is either port 3,000 or whatever is being assigned to me. Then I can then do like this console.log. I can then say listen on port, then I'll say plus port. I need to put a comma here, sorry. So I've done this. If I run this code, node index, you see, listening on port 3,000 now. So I've been able to initialize Express. I've been able to set up the port, right, that my app should listen, and I've been able to create a server using this app.listen, which is listening on the port of 3,000. Okay. Now, I can't handle any request here now because there is no route for me to pass my request to. Now, what is a route? Okay, now a route is just a set of code, a set of instruction, right? A set of what do we call it? Okay, a route contains the method you want to, it accepts the endpoints and the handler for that particular route, right? So let's take, for example, I want it that when you send a request to hello to this particular my backend, if you send a get request to hello, that it should return maybe hello there, for example, as a response, right? I'll do that in a route. Now, the route is a handler, right? The route, let's say not the route is handler, the route contains the handler for a particular request. Okay, so a route is used to handle the request of a user. So you can have 500 routes, 200 routes, 10 routes for your particular project, right? So now this is how you write a route. Okay, so let's say I want to declare a get route to /hello. So I'll say, remember that we are using app, so I'll say app.get, because it's a get request I want to accept. But then I want to accept the request sent to the endpoint, that's the hello endpoint, right? And then after writing, now this whole thing, right, is the route. The route contains the method at which I am I require. It contains the endpoints, right? And then it contains the handler. So the handler is what I want to write now, the request handler, right? So I'll then write function. And remember that our handler contains a request and response object. So I want it that when once you send a request there, I will just respond with hello there. So I'll just write res.send, right? I'll then write hello there. So now I've created a simple route. This whole thing here is a route, right? This route contains the endpoint, the hello endpoint, and it accepts the get method, right? So if I send a request to this route, to this route, which means I'm sending it to the /hello endpoint and with a get request, it should return hello there as a response to me. Are you guys still following?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So now, for me to start that, I would say node index, enter. See, is listening on port 3,000, right? Now, how do I send that request? Let me do it first on the browser. So let me share my browser screen with you guys. Okay. Let's come here, share that. Okay. Now, I'm going to type localhost colon 3000 slash hello. Once I press enter, you see, it returns a response of hello there. Can you guys see that?
Are you on browser? It's not showing.
Oh, sorry. I shared my browser. I thought it actually shared it. Okay. 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 So I hope you guys can answer my browser. Hello, can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. So now I just type what I just did is I type localhost colon 3000 slash hello, right? And then you see that what we got back is hello there as a response, right? So now you see that I've been able to send that request. Now, I remember that I said anytime you type in a URL on your browser, right? And then you press enter, you're actually making a GET request to that particular URL. So if I type www.google.com, I'm making a GET request to google.com actually. Okay, but they don't know that you're actually making a GET request. So let's come back to VS Code and let's see how we can simulate that same request with VS Code. Remember about this REST client I talked about. So if you come back and you type, let me remove all this. You come to your REST client and then you say get. Then here you type localhost 3000 slash hello. And then you click on send request. You see, this is what we get back as a response. Hello there, hello there. We get back a response header. This is the response body actually, right? Then we have the status code, right? Which is 200, right? And then the HTTP version and the status text. So 200 actually means okay. Okay. You guys follow up to that extent?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, let me continue. Okay.
Mr.
So
Victor, what's the name of the
add
extension again?
and more. Yeah.
REST what?
You
REST.
say what?
The name of the extension. REST.
Okay, you said what is the name of the extension?
Yes, yes. REST
The name
client,
of the
right?
extension.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
the name of the extension, REST client.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes, that's the name of the extension. Yeah, so that's the name of the extension. REST client is somewhere here, JKL and OPQRR. REST. Okay, see it here, REST client. So if you want to be able to simulate the testing from your browser, right? You can use REST clients. Now, You can have more and more routes. You can have a lot of routes. You can have as much routes as you want. I can have another route, maybe here app.get, and then I can put another endpoint, right? Um, um, username. Now, sorry, there's another thing I want to show you. You can have dynamic routes, right? For example, I can make it that users can pass in a variable, right? Something that changes to a route, right? So I can do something like /user/ then for me to accept a parameter from the route, I can write /user/ then I can write username here, right? So then this username will be automatically replaced with what the user passes in. So this is how to get it from my request handler. So I'll say function req res and then that my request handler. Now for me to get the parameter of the username, like this username parameter, I can console.log req request, because the request contains everything that comes with the request, the method, the route, the host name, everything. So for me to get this parameter, I could say request.params.username. So that is going to give me the value of that username. Then I can maybe return a response to that username. For example, I could say res.send, and I'll say hello. Then I could say req.params.username. Send this hello, then the username. So if it is Victor, if I pass in /user/Victor, Victor will be printed out here. Then we'll have hello Victor, right? So remember that this is not yet dynamic, so I need to crash it and come back and run node index. It starts up that server again, and let's go to our REST client. So if I come to my REST client and I say localhost 3000/username/ maybe let's say Lois, and I press get, what happens there? It's saying cannot get /username/Lois. Cannot. Okay. I didn't wait for the code to actually save before running that. So let me crash it again and then start again. So if I click there, okay, let me check what I actually wrote. Let me check it. Okay, it's not /username/ then the username is /user then / the username. So I'll say /user/Lois. I hope you guys are following. When I press send request, you see it shows hello Lois, right? And it prints out Lois on the terminal. If I pass in maybe Victor and press send request, you see it prints out Victor here and it sends hello Victor. Okay, I hope you guys are following.
Yes, but please, this test.rest, is it as a result of the installation that made it to come here?
No, I actually created the test.rest file.
Okay.
Yeah, so the drill is that if you want to use REST clients to simulate requests, you have to create a file, but that file should have the extension of .rest or .http. Do you understand? HTTP, yes. Anyone, but I like using .rest more. Okay, cool. Now, that is how you create. You can have you can have more and more different routes. Okay, so this REST client is acting as maybe a website, like, or a mobile app that is sending a request to our backend, right? And our backend is getting the request. So now, before you send back your response, right? You can use that request to do anything you want to do here before sending back your response at this part, right? You can maybe save save what the user is asking on a database. You can maybe delete something from a database. You can fetch from a database and send to the user and the rest of all those things. You do that all before you then send back your response, right? Right? Any question? Hello? Anybody has any question?
Question.
No question? Okay, cool. Now, the last thing I want to discuss about here is what is called middleware, right? Now, as the name implies, right? A middleware is what stands between your, okay, it stands as a middle, yeah, between where the request is coming from and the request handler. So before a request gets to the request handler, right, it passes through a middleware, okay? And now there are two kinds of middleware you have in Express.js. You have the application level middleware and you have the route level middleware. And I'll show you the difference between both of them. Now, there are some things you might want to do each time a request is sent to your backend. For example, you might want to print out the kind of request, right? The kind of request method that is being sent. Like, for example, we have two get methods here, right? You might want to have a middleware that anytime a request is sent, it should just print out the middleware used for that response. Now, a middleware simply consists of the request, the response, and the next argument, right? So if let me create that middleware. So I could say, now, middlewares, application level middlewares use app.use. So if I want to declare middleware now, right? So once a request comes in, that request will always pass through this app.use before it will get to either hello or this user slash that username. Okay. So now, if I want to declare a middleware, I could say function. So this function will accept a request, a response, and a next. So middlewares have that next function. So I could do something like this console.log. I would say request.method. So now remember, each time that you include a middleware, right? Always remember to call the next method. The next method is going to make sure that after when this request method is printed out, this next is going to allow that request to pass to the next maybe request handler or middleware. I can add another middleware under here. Okay. So now let's see how that middleware works. Let me spin up the server again. Let's come back here and send a request. Do you notice that it prints out get before printing out Victor? You notice that, right? If I sent a post request, for example, instead of a get request, post, and I click send request, right? Although there's no route with that post with a post request yet, right? It shows that we don't have a post request, but on the console, we see already that we have post request, right? We already have the post request. If I try to send a push request, for example, put and I press enter, you see, I've successfully created a middleware that prints out the request methods for every request that I send. So if I change this back to a get method now, and I click send request, you see? Now, if I didn't call the next method, it is going to print out the get, but it's not going to allow the route for that particular method to handle that request. Okay, I hope you guys are following. Hello, are you guys following? Is anybody confused?
Yes, yes.
It's not entering well. Oh God.
But Mr. Victor,
Jesus.
explain the use
Yeah.
again. Explain the use function again. The use method.
Okay, this use is used to declare middlewares.
Okay. But sometimes I notice they can use JSON, they put JSON dot something.
Yes. Now, notice when you are sending, okay, let's take for example, I am trying to log in, right? Let's say I'm trying to send my username and password to, let's take for example, this REST client tries to send the username and password to our backend. Now, that username and password is supposed to arrive as a JSON file, right? Or it's supposed to arrive our backend as JSON, right? But no, it doesn't come to our backend as JSON. It comes to our backend as text. So that middleware now is going to be used to process that text to be turned to JSON. So this is what I mean. If I create, let me create a login route. Let's say app.post, and I say /login, and I say req, I'll say function req res, function with request and response. I know you guys will need to rewatch this video. So I could do something like this, req, let me just console.log req.body. Although I know it's not going to actually come. So then I could respond with that req.body, right? Let me crash the server and start it again. So now I've created a new route with a post request to /login, but then the request body should contain username and password, right? Let me come here and do that. Say post request to /login. I'll say that the content type, remember, you always, anytime you're sending data back to the backend, you always need to tell the content type. So application /JSON, and then you come here and say, let's say username is Victor. Is Victor, right? And then we send that request. Did you notice something? It's actually showed 200, but why is our username and why is our response body undefined, right? There is nothing that is intercepting this JSON data and converting it to something that is usable. So then how do we actually convert it, right? How do we convert it to something that we can use to do whatever I want to do? Now, we need to include a middleware to convert it. So we can then say app.use, then inside here, I'll say express.json, then here I'll say extended, okay, no, I think it's not here. I'll just say express.json. So if I crash this and come back and run the code again, and then I send the request, you see that middleware now has processed what we are sending. right? Do you guys follow? So without that
Yes.
middleware now, it will be difficult for the it will be difficult for Express, or it will, let's just say it will not, Express won't be able to convert what we've sent to something that's the response body to what it can actually use. There are other what they call it, middlewares that handle other things or handle other types of data, like data that has to do with maybe someone's picture or someone's maybe URL encoded kind of data. There are different types of data, right? JSON is the one that is popularly sent to the back end every time, most times. Like for example, in this case where I'm sending my username and password, you see that I'm sending it back to the back end as JSON, right? So
Sorry, I
there are
didn't see the post router. My system went off. I just came back.
oh, okay, you did not see the post. Okay, let me show it to you. See it here. Okay,
I've not seen it.
the post what?
Router.
See it there.
Okay.
Yeah. So does any other person have any other question?
Yes, Mr. Victor, inside
Yeah.
this use, I noticed that you made use of request dot method. Then next, does it mean that inside the request object, we can make use of any of the method? Then next, I don't know if you get that.
No, I didn't get that.
Okay, come to the use function.
Okay.
So that use app.use. Okay. Okay. You know, like this request, you know that it is an object, right?
Yes.
And you are making use of the method dot method request dot method. You get. So what I'm now saying is that instead of dot method, if there's another object of
Yeah.
that request, are we still can we still use the next method with it instead of the request dot method?
That is,
Tony,
let me understand. Wait.
okay.
Wait. Now try to understand what you're trying to say.
Okay. What I'm saying is that
what you mean is writing this, right? Maybe writing
like
REQ dot method.
no.
What do you
Okay,
what do
are you saying that no matter the method I will make use of, it will still call the next method?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I think that no
If it's
problem.
post or get or put or delete, right? You can do something like you can add an if statement. If it is a post, if it's a get method, then call the next. If it's not a get method, then it shouldn't call the next. So it can stop maybe if a post request is sent, maybe a method that is not a get request, it can then block. This app.use can be used to block a method from or block something, right? This is what they use mainly in Express. You can use this middleware for authentication. So if someone doesn't have an auth token, right? So the person should not pass through or something like that. If the person has an auth token, the person should pass through. If the person doesn't have an auth token, you should not pass through. Those kind of things. Do you understand? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's this kind of um this kind of middleware, right? This one, the one that is app.use, right, is mostly an application level middleware based on where you use it. Like for example, we see that all our routes are under these two middlewares. So after these two middlewares, we then have all our routes under. Okay. But what if we wanted maybe what if we wanted only this login to have the express.json middleware, but then others should then maybe not be affected by this middleware? How would we do that? Right now, I want to introduce route level middleware. So if you want to do that, you can just simply copy this then this is what you would do. Paste that there. So now this express.json is a route level middleware because it's only going to affect this route. But if we use it this way, right, it affects everything, not just one route. It affects all the routes that are under it, right? If there was a route above it, then it won't affect it. But we see that all the other routes, every route is under it, right? But now it is in comment, so which means it's not active. So using a middleware like this, right? You're making that middleware, or you're making that middleware and a route level middleware, not an application level middleware. Does it make sense? Hello guys, does it make sense to you guys?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And who has question? Is it
And I'm having an error. I'm trying to replicate it.
What?
Web view error. Error loading web view.
Well,
Not
I need to watch the video again.
okay. No problem. You can watch it again. Someone is saying he has an error. What is the error you're getting?
It's saying could not register service worker.
Service worker.
Error loading web view. Error could not register service worker. Invalid.
Why would you have that error? Service worker on Express.js. How are you running the code? Did you
rest? Test does rest.
Okay. I don't know why you have that error, but we are going to fix it later, like after the class. I would allow you to share your screen and then we will fix it. Is there any other person that's having an error? Hello, any other person having an error? Or are you guys trying it? Everybody trying it out? What did I put here? So, command plus port. Wow. Okay, so that's the difference between having an application level middleware, right, and having a route level middleware. So everybody understands that this is a route, right? And this is another route. And we know that a route has the method which you're sending to it, the endpoint, right? This is the endpoint. So we have different endpoints, right? So one route can have the same endpoints, but different method. So this /login can also be /login, but has a get, right? Another, you can still have /login with a delete method, right? You can still have the same /login with a put method or a patch method. Okay. So we are going to work more with everything that has to do with Express.js, right? From time to we will still work on this. Okay, so if you didn't really understand this video, right, you can still rewatch it on the YouTube channel. Okay, so this is a simple way of creating routes, and then I would show also how you can break these routes, because looking at it, what if you were creating a really large application that has a lot of routes, right? And let's say you have like 50 routes, you might not want to put all the 50 routes in one file, like inside your index.js, right? So we'll see how you can break those routes into different files. So you can have a file for authentication. So all the routes for login, logout, forget password, reset password can be inside that particular file. Then you can have another, inside that folder, right? Or the other file. Then you can have another file for maybe getting the user's profile, setting it, editing the user's profile, and the rest. You can have that as another file and the rest of those things. But for now, everything we are writing is just inside one file, just everything inside one file, right? So in our subsequent classes, we would see how we can break that out, and then we'll start working with Mongo database very soon. Okay. So I hope, is there any question? Is there any challenge or anything you want to bring to my knowledge? Any question? Hello? Any question?
No question.
Well, from my own side, I don't have any question yet. I don't have any question now.
Okay. So, but if you have any question when trying to do this, if you encounter any error, you can always like call my attention on
Okay.
the
But you said you are going to talk on Express generator, or should we?
Okay. All right. So now with all these things we've done now, right? I didn't want to show Express generator, but well, let me just
Eh,
show it.
Okay. Okay.
But then Express generator makes life simple for backend developers, right? So let me do this. Let me create a file, and then or let me create a folder, right? And then I'll open that folder and run Express generator. Now, what is Express generator first to start with? Now, Express generator is a module that was created to help you scaffold your Express app, right? So what does Express generator do? Express generator it creates the entry points, the routes, the view, everything you need for your project, right? It just creates, just like it's like when you create maybe a project on Vue, say Vue, or let's say React creates the page. Okay, you might not create the page, right? But it creates a boilerplate code for you that you can start using to maybe run your code, Abby. Hello? Am I making sense?
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
we have that same thing with Express generator. So instead of you starting like trying to write Express generator like Express, trying to write it from the beginning, trying to declare port and everything like this one by one, right? You can just run that one command to generate the whole thing for you. So let me create a folder, and then I'll open that folder. Let me see where I can actually create that folder. Okay, so okay, I think I'll just share my whole screen for you guys to see. So you guys can see my whole screen. So if I do something like this, ls so I'm inside documents. So I'll do dot slash desktop, right? I want to go to my desktop, and then I want to create that express generator. But now, before I create it, I need to install express generator. So to install express generator, all right, npm install express hyphen generator. Oh, sorry. I was supposed to run it globally.
Then why?
Why do I need to run it globally?
Yes.
Okay. I like the way you came up with the why. All right. So why you need to install it globally so that no matter which folder you are, you can always call express generator to create. So create installing globally will make that command accessible on any folder you are on your system, right? It's not going to make it available for only one project. Okay, so
Okay.
this one they are telling me maybe I don't have permission, so I need to write sudo npm install that. Then it's going to ask me for my password. Then I type it in, and then it has installed express generator. So if I want to create an express project in my desktop, I'll just say express, then the name of the project. So if I just call this KC KC test, for example, and I press enter, let's notice what happens. Okay, let me increase this. See what it has done. It has automatically created the folder, the public folder, created images, and every other thing, right? Then it creates my package.json. It creates the entry point, which is the app.js. It creates like everything I need for that for my project on the desktop. So if I go to the desktop, right? If I ls here, you see that we have KC test as a folder. So let me open that KC test as a folder that I want to work with. So I'll come here, open folder, and I'll go to desktop. Once I go to desktop, do you see we have KC text here? If I click on KC tests and I come and click on open, notice what you would see. If we open package.json, it has already installed whatever we need. Install cookie parser, debug, express, HTTP errors, Jade Morgan, everything we need. Then if we come to app, you see, it has already done everything for us. Though it has imported the list, like what we need, right? It has initialized Express. It has set a view for Express. See this our middlewares, right? All the middlewares that we need. Logger, express.json, express.url encoded, the file or the middleware to point to where the public folder is. This public folder is where you put static files like your picture, your audio, your video, if your service is going to accept those, right? Then this slash now this is one thing I wanted to show, right? You can use your routes like a middleware, right? So anything that has to do with slash will be given to the index router. Any route, right? Any route that has to do with users will be handed over to the user's router.
Just like React router.
Exactly, right? So now anything that has to do with slash will be given to index router. So whether it is a post request, get request, a delete request that is coming to directly to slash, it will be given to the index router, right? Anything that has to do with slash users, whether it's a get request or post request or put request, this is going to be the handler for it. Okay. Then we have the error handlers. So this one is going to be called when maybe you make a request to a route that doesn't exist. Okay. So this one is going to create a 404 error, right? But then this one is going to create an error if maybe an error actually occurred, not maybe a 404 kind of error, maybe an error that's maybe something crashed on the server, right? This is going to create that error. Okay, so this is like another very big topic, right? Trying to sit and explain all these things is going to really take our time. So I think I'll just move this explanation of all this to the next class, so I don't confuse you guys with all what I've already like shown today, right? So based on what
I think that Jade is a unit test, Abby.
No, this Jade here is a templating engine.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah. So Jade enables you to write kind of dynamic, should I say dynamic?
HTML.
Yeah, kind of not really HTML directly. Yeah, dynamic web pages directly on your backend. So if you want to write a full stack project with Express.js, in which Express.js will run your front end and your back end, so you can use Jade. There is another view engine called EJS.
Oh.
Yeah, so there are others. So everything that has to do with the EJS, right, is going to, everything that has to do with your templating engine is going to be in the views folder, this views folder.
Okay.
So if you come here, you will see .jade. Similarly, if you've written Python and you've written Ginger templates, Jade is just similar to Ginger templates. I don't know if there's anybody, but then don't worry about that, right?
Okay.
Ahead. We won't even touch this view. So we are just going to be concerned with how to.
Okay. Let's see the routes folder. The routes folder.
Route folder, you have index.
I didn't get the command to create the generator.
Okay.
npm install express dash.
No, to create the content of the
Dash.
folder.
See, okay. Yeah, you saw what?
To create the content.
Create the content.
The auto-generated content.
And you just type express, then the name of the folder you want to call it, or the name of your project. Because that KC test too is going to be the name of the project, but it's going to be in Cabet case. So if you want, so it's going to be express, then the name of, so if you want to call it KodeCamp, you just say express KodeCamp. Then when you press enter, it's going to create the project for you with that name, with the folder name of KodeCamp. Then in the package.json, the name of the project is still going to be KodeCamp, and every other thing is going to follow. So now, after creating your project with Express Generate, if you want to start it, you just write. See, our script, you already have a start here, right? So you can just come here and write npm start. Okay, the reason for why it is crashing is because we have package.json, right? But we've not installed this required libraries. So what we need to do is write npm install. So npm install is going to create that node modules folder. Remember, we don't have any node modules folder here. So it's going to create that node modules folder and install all the things we need for this particular project. install all the dependencies we need, right? Then you, of course, you just run npm install to install all those things. Then after that, to fire up the project, you write npm start. So this is going to start your project. It has started the project already. So let me create that test.restful file again. So just a test.rest here. Then if I send a get request to http colon. Hmm?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So what did it say? Welcome to Express, right? Express, welcome to Express. If I take this and I go to my browser, if I take this and go to my browser, right? And then I paste it, right? You see Express, welcome to Express. Where is this coming from, right? If you look at your index, if you look at your index folder, you see title Express, right? And then if you come to your views folder and you go to index, you see title. Title is that Express. Then I said, welcome to that title again. So welcome to Express. This is Jade actually, right? This Jade extends this layout here. So this is how Jade is being written, Sha. And yeah, so this Jade is not, that's why I said you shouldn't really worry about it.
But Mr. Victor, instead of this Jade, you can also write it in React, right? Yes,
you can also write it in React. That would mean you need to configure. Now, there are two ways you can write it. You can run a separate server on a separate React server, and then make HTTP request to Express and then get what you want. Or I also know that there is a way you can configure Express to also run React directly too. Although which I've not done before. I like running my pass differently, not on the same port.
Then let's say, like, do you know Nginx?
Nginx.
Yes, Nginx, yeah.
Yeah,
like
Nginx is used for reverse proxy and load balancing and the rest of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So
don't worry, I'll ask my question later.
You don't really need to see. You don't really need to for now use Nginx because the server you're spinning up already spins up a server automatically. So
yes.
yeah, so the server is already running. Once you run npm start, it spins up a server. So you don't need to install Nginx again and then, except you want to do load balancing or any of those things like that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So I don't know. Do you understand the concept of load balancing?
Yes, a little bit. It's just like directing traffic.
Yes. So you can say there are different algorithms used to implement load balancing. There is one
yes,
that
like Robin.
Yes. So one request goes to the first server, the next request goes to the second server, like that. All those things. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's one. Okay. But then for just testing your Express, right? You can do everything directly. I think some people okay, the reason for for maybe trying to use Nginx and doing reverse proxy is that you might want to distribute traffic. It can also help you prevent or reduce the effect of DDoS, distributed denial of service attack. I'm really going, I'm drifting away. Okay, let's come back here.
Okay, sir. Okay.
We'll talk about that later, right? Not now.
Okay.
So, so the first get request I made to /users, right? And then since it's a get request, I can do it directly from my browser, right? Then let me send a request to /users. So I could do localhost 3000/users, right? And it shows respond with a resource. If we come to our users, you see respond with a resource as the response we are getting. Okay, now notice something. Here, we are not using rest.send, we are using rest.render. Rest.render is going to go to your template engine and pick, or it's going to your view, it's going to go to your views folder and pick the file that has that particular name, index, right? And then it's going to pass in this object to that file so that that file can then, so now remember that this is title. So the file can then use this express object, right, to do whatever I want to do. So now we are passing title as express. So that's why we're having h1 of express, right? And then welcome to express. If we go to just slash, you see express and welcome to express, it's coming from here actually. Okay, but then let's not worry about that. We are going to talk more about what is happening here, right, in our next class. So I hope, is there any question?
Well, I don't have a question. I think I'm fine with this.
Okay,
But if I have any question, I'll message you on Discord.
or you can drop it on the group so that people won't ask.
Yes.
Okay, any other person, any other question? Is there any question?
Please, let's check this bin folder before you leave. Let's check this bin folder.
Okay, so the bin
Just
folder,
www.
yeah, the bin folder just contains everything that has to do with debugging and spinning up the server. So you see, we create a server here, and then you can listen to the port for that particular server you're creating.
Okay.
You're creating a server for the app. This app is actually your Express app.
Okay. Required app.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then these other things are just for, this one is to normalize the ports, whatever that means. Then on error, if there's any error, like for example, maybe your the port is already in use, it should just show that 3000. If 3000 is already in use by another port, you just say 3000 is already in use and all those stuff like that. Then this, I think it should be okay. Didn't show this thing on. Okay, so this debug, right? This debug would, if we're also debugging, right? I think there's a place you can actually, there's how you can debug, and then it will show listening on port 3000, but I don't mainly use the debug. I'll just rather use console.log so that it will show it on the terminal directly. All right. So, is there any other question? Hello.
There's no question. Yes, I can. Yeah, I'm still here with you, but I don't have any question.
Okay, cool. So any other person, is there any question? Okay, so in the absence of questions, I know this class might have been a little bit advanced, right? So, but then you just need to rewatch this video. Rewatch it, rewatch, and then when you're if you have any question while you were rewatching the video, then you can always ask it, okay?
So,
Then apart from that, the book I dropped on the channel, right?
okay.
It's helpful to you guys, or do you guys find this really confusing? Or have you guys even read it or downloaded it?
I've not even downloaded it too. I think I saw it yesterday.
Okay.
I think I'll check it. I think I also have that book safe. That's why I didn't even download it. I'll check. I'll check again.
Fine. It's fine. Okay, so
Okay, Eloquent, JavaScript, and Express Handbook. Yes, I have
okay,
them.
okay, no problem. So any other thing, any other concern, anything I need to know about? All right, so in the absence of any more question, I think we've come to the end of today's class, right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome, and we'll see by next week.
So all these things are still on top of my head, though. They never enter my.
Hello, you say anything that is what?
All these things are still flying on top of my head, though.
Okay, sorry, but definitely, I know that while I'm showing you guys this thing, it might get confusing. That's why I am like here, right? You can always ask the question, any question you get while we are on a live class, or when you watch the video again, right? And you have any question, you can always ask me. You can always like tell me, oh, okay, this is the challenge I faced. How do I solve it? What do I do? What is the way out? And then I'll answer you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So your your task is going to be dropping before the end of today, and it's going to be a simple one. I promise. It's going to be based on what we actually did today. Okay. All right. So no that
Hello, sir.
yeah.
Okay, sir. We would appreciate if the video for today's class could quickly be online so that we can rewatch and rewatch before, so that we can understand the concepts before attempting the assignment.
Okay.
Because
Okay. So
the one for Tuesday class, I just found it online today, and I was even trying to go through it before this class started.
okay. So
So
this
if they
is
could upload it earlier for us to get us.
okay. This is the reason. I think the management, right, will have to
Yes,
they watch the video to maybe cut out some certain parts or something. I think there's actually an audit on the video, so it doesn't go out
yes, sir.
immediately.
Immediately.
It's recorded, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why it takes a little bit of time.
Because maybe in that regard, maybe we'll just start probably like one extra day for deadline submission, for submission deadline, to be able to
Okay.
meet up.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
One extra day of deadline. Okay, I'll see what I can do about that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. No problem. Any other concern or question? All right. So in the absence of any question, right? We'll be calling it a day, right? So thanks for joining. If you want to stay maybe after the recording has stopped, maybe to ask questions or anything, you can actually do that. Okay. So bye bye for now.